All right, starting recording, I think just about now. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. If you're starting the day off with the Backups Cast, this is the Backups Cast, a football podcast. I'm here, I'm Ryan Cato, this is Hunter and Trevor, and today we're going to be looking to highlight some guys that we really believe in, not necessarily our top guys per position for this draft, but guys that we really like to see, maybe some that are underappreciated. And we're going to go by position, hit one or two at each position, depending on position, and hopefully get you to open your eyes to some prospects that you haven't really looked at before, some film you haven't really watched. But first, as always, we're starting off with news. Trevor, you got a little something for us?
What's up, football fans? We're going to start with some news today. So we had a few teams drop some jersey changes. The most drastic would have to be the Falcons. And as a Falcons fan, I am very meh about it. I'm not a huge fan of the all whites. It just depends on the person. I know Hunter loves the all whites.
I like the all whites.
I think prefer the clean, black with the white pants is my favorite personally. We also had the Cleveland Browns change theirs up. They went for more of a classic look. There wasn't too much of a change that I could see like too crazy like the Falcons went. But overall, they just look solid. I mean, generally, they're the ugliest uniforms in the league, in my opinion. So they look a little better. Then we also had the Buccaneers who cleaned up their sleeves, and they actually look pretty damn good.
Didn't they get rid of those, they got rid of those ugly-ass numbers too, didn't they?
Yeah. So their uniform, theirs looks a lot more like their Super Bowl win, like in the early 2000s era Bucks, and they look clean. Yeah, I love them. They look good.
I'd agree. They cleaned up. They did a little throwback on it. I think it looks so much better than whatever they were wearing with those like spiky numbers, the big hot reds. I hated everything about their uniforms last year. They had some of the ugliest uniforms in the NFL, I think.
I'm just waiting for the creamsicle orange to come back.
We want it back.
I want it back so bad.
The old logo, the Usher and Tom.
Ooh, that'd be so good.
All right, next up.
Yeah, McCaffrey.
Yeah, next up we got Christian McCaffrey, another running back being paid. We'll see if this one pays off. I don't remember the years. I think, was it a 4-year, $16 million?
4 years, $16 million a year.
Which is
mil total.
If you go off last season,
guaranteed, right?
Something like that.
It was like 40-something guaranteed.
I think it was 44 guaranteed.
Insane.
Yeah, if you go off the last couple seasons, I mean, he's worth every penny in my opinion. But the thing with these contracts is no one so far has lived up to a multi-year running back deal for that kind of money. Mm-hmm. So will McCaffrey be the first one to do it?
Yeah, we're still waiting on Zeke to see how he plays out.
Yeah, true. Zeke, true. So, I mean, I kind of like it for Carolina. Like, he's the offense for them right now. We'll see if they can get a competent QB in there with Teddy Bridgewater this season, if he turns out to be any good. But overall, I thought it was pretty good for an offense that is pretty much based off one player.
Yeah, I really like it because you're paying him while your team's in the rebuild phase because you're not shelling money out anywhere. You have money to be working with. So why not go ahead and pay your running back for the few years, keep him happy, and it'll just essentially it's kind of a wasted cap, but you also don't have anyone else to be paying. So it makes sense to me.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. $16 million a year, 44-something guaranteed scares me a little bit personally on a running back with a second contract, plus it's 4 years. The life of running backs in the NFL has been scarily low recently. And whenever you start paying money to a running back with big production, a la David Johnson, you see where that starts to head, I think, personally. So it does scare me a little bit. But if you're going to pay a running back that kind of money, it's got to be McCaffrey. I mean, you look at his all-purpose yards as compared to the rest of the NFL. He was first among running backs for receptions and for receiving yards, as well as first in the NFL in all-purpose yards and touches and all that. So, I mean, I guess if you're going to be shelling out that kind of money, like you said, with that extra cap, McCaffrey's got to be the one you're going to give it to.
Just one thing to note, McCaffrey is still 23 until June.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, running backs are barely living to 25. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, Frank Gore, what are you talking about?
I don't disagree, but
All right, next up we got a pretty big name that's still out on the market is Jadeveon Clowney. It's surprising to me that he's still out there, but then you realize like how much money he's wanting, and it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because he's never been much of a pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good in the run defense, but I mean, how much are you really going to pay for a run defender?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how many years he's looking for, but I think he's turned down $17.5 million from somebody, and I don't know. This man's kind of crazy to me.
Rumor has it Cleveland is the favorites to sign him. Just throwing that out there.
Cleveland.
Yeah, to pair him and Myles Garrett together, that would be insane. But
yeah, that's terrifying.
I would not pay Clowney that much, even as a big Clowney fan, just due to his lack of production in the pass rush department. He's a disruptive force on the defensive line for sure, and he does just wreck plays. However, the fact he doesn't get to the quarterback is a little alarming.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I don't know. There's very, very few rushers at all in the NFL I'd be willing to pay $19 million to. That's a whole damn lot of money. But like you said, Clowney's production, the statistics don't really speak for his game, I don't think. Because like you said, big rush defender, but I don't think he's worth it. I wouldn't want him on any team of mine. But
all right, next we got this might be some draft smokescreen or it could not be. So rumor is that Miami is actually looking at more Justin Herbert instead of Tua. After all we've heard for the last year and a half is tank for Tua for Miami, and I personally don't want to believe it's true. Like I'm not a Justin Herbert guy, and I hope it's not true. But it's possible, and a lot of people are thinking that, so it could be Justin Herbert going to Miami. And I think that would be a pretty big mistake if Tua was still on the board for them.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit. I think it's big old smoke screen. We've talked about before in the mock draft episodes that people are going to want to trade up to go get to us. People like the Chargers, people like whoever are going to want to trade up ahead of Miami to 3 to go get Tua. And I think Miami's doing everything that they can to convince people that that's not what they're looking for. To convince San Diego or whoever is looking to grab him up there at 6, 7, 8, whatever. That's not what they're going for. I think Justin Herbert has bust written all over him, but that's a personal opinion of mine. I think we talked about before. I just don't know if he's got it between the ears. So who knows? But I think that they'd be making a big mistake if they passed on Tua.
Yeah, for sure. My thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't a smokescreen, just due to his injuries and the fact they're not able to get him in and let their own doctors take a look at him. Because there's only so much that the teams can go off of, especially with injuries like Tua's. Because that's a pretty big thing, 3 serious injuries in 3 years. If your team doctors aren't 100% sold on, hey, we think he's good, then there's no reason to pull trigger on Tua at pick 5. When you can probably sit back and get Jordan Love at pick 18. You could draft Jedrick Wills or something at pick 5 and keep him upright. But that's just my take on it all. They might not be sold on Herbert, but I think they're going to pass on Tua.
I could see that being more the situation where they did take somebody like Jedrick Wills at 5 and then go for Love later or something like that. I'm not sure if they're sold on Herbert that high at 5. Speaking of drafts and draft picks, we've been hearing a lot about the Falcons looking for a possible trade up. What do you have on that, Trevor?
Yeah, a little hometown news for us. I'm a diehard Falcons fan. Thomas Dimitroff is kind of notorious for never really picking in the draft selection he's scheduled to be at. So he likes to be aggressive. And with him and Dan Quinn possibly be on the chop block this year, I think he's going to try and get some kind of impact player earlier. So I'm thinking like maybe Arizona or the Jets or maybe the Raiders they can trade up for. I think I saw one thing they're looking at Kinlaw for from South Carolina. They want to jump San Francisco since San Francisco lost their DT. They went to Indianapolis. DeForest Buckner, thank you. So I think I'm not in love with the idea, if we're being honest. I think we can still get a good player at 16. I think this is just a job-saving move. I mean, if we get Derek Brown, I'm just going to eat my words and just be the happiest guy in Georgia. But if it's, I mean, I feel like Kinlaw or C.J. Henderson or even Caleb on Chason at 16, one of those three will be there, and I think that would be a good move.
Agreed. I don't see any reason to trade up, especially trying to trade in front of San Francisco. I think San Francisco's picking a receiver there. I don't think that they're going to be Kinlaw. I mean, it's a chance. I've seen Kinlaw go as high as 9 in some of these mocks, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see the point.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the trade up, but if somebody like Oakland or the Jets or Jacksonville wants to trade down because Tom Stewart is friends with David Caldwell at Jacksonville, something to take into effect. I would definitely consider it depending on what the asking price is. If it's like a first and a third, why not go ahead and shoot up for it? But if it's like a first and our second, no, it makes no sense to me. But I think there's going to be a run on tackles, and I think some of these impact defensive players are going to slide. So I don't think there's a reason that Atlanta should trade up.
Agreed. Big time agree. So now we got that out of the way. I think, like I said, we're looking at some impact players that we like in this draft that aren't getting as much press as maybe we think that they should. Starting out with QBs. And Hunter, would you like to start with your QB?
Yes, I will start with the QB, and it is going to be Jake Fromm. I know a lot of people have a lot of mixed feelings about Jake Fromm due to his physical characteristics and physical traits. That something might limit him at the next level. But I think he's a very good, smart quarterback who, worst case scenario, you're getting a Colt McCoy who's going to be a 10 to 12-year spot starter, backup guy for you. Best case scenario, you're getting Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith type guy out of him.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think we've seen that sometimes all you need is a game manager, a la Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, hell, even Jimmy G. And I think Jake Fromm has those Alex Smith traits. He can do that.
Mm-hmm. I'll go next. I just want to preface this. All of my picks are guys that I would expect not to be in the first round. So just kind of later round guys so we can highlight a little bit. So I saw Hunter went Jake Fromm, and that's where I was going to go originally. So I decided to switch it up a little bit. I went Jalen Hurts from Oklahoma, whose draft stock is rising. Everyone knows him from his Alabama days. He was more of a running quarterback, never really was that accurate throwing and stuff. But once he linked up with Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, his game changed, his mechanics changed. He still had that same running ability, but all of a sudden he can throw the ball relatively accurately. And he's just progressed so far through his college career. So I think a lot of NFL GMs are going to be betting on him to just keep rising higher and higher. Maybe get to a Russell Wilson kind of level if at his highest. He should be an overall just good QB, and I'd run him out there as my QB. Let's go.
All right then. Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily pick somebody who I didn't think would be around in round 1, but I did pick Jordan Love. If you listened to the podcast before, you know I love Jordan Love. I love him more than Herbert for sure. I think he deserves to go in round 1, but he may be around day 2. Jordan Love out of Utah State. I don't think he had much help this past season. Of course, the help on the team, the players that surround him don't make the decisions for him, and he does show some times where he's got some sort of lapse in decision making. He's making some awful throws, but a lot of the time I see him as very consistent and put together. And I think having him come and sit behind a more experienced quarterback, somebody like Aaron Rodgers at Green Bay, somebody like Drew Brees in New Orleans, which God bless y'all if he comes to New Orleans. I'll be scared for the Falcons fans here, but sitting him behind somebody like that, developing a little bit, and I think he could turn into an excellent NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely think Jordan Love has all the physical traits that you're looking for to transition to this new era of the NFL, and I'd be curious to see how he's going to do. I was watching some of his film today from 2018 and then compared it to some of his 2019 film. Huge change. His 2018 film, he looks a lot more confident and just was able to make all the throws. And so I wonder if in 2019 he just had too much or was trying to do too much. So I'm curious to see how he ends up panning out.
For sure.
Well, I always have a QB biting me in the ass every year. 2 years ago, it was Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I had a little double whammy. Last year, it was Drew Lock because he turned out to be okay. I thought he was terrible. This year, it probably will be Jordan Love, but as of today, I am not a fan. Good traits. I mean, the guy can throw, he can run. I just don't like the on-the-field stuff in 2019. I mean, it's the same thing with Grant Delpit. They both have great 2018 tapes, but 2019 just ain't there.
I love Grant Delpit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, me too. That's fair.
So, yeah, he should be a pretty solid player if he turns out. I mean, hopefully he's good. I'm rooting for the guy, but as of right now, I don't think he's going to be that great.
Fair enough.
But just
let me hear it for your running back.
My running back, I got Joshua Kelly coming out of UCLA. Sorry, yep. I almost said the wrong one.
No worries.
But he first caught my eye in the Senior Bowl, and ever since then, I just kind of fell in love with him as a player. He's got back-to-back 1,000-yard rush seasons, averaged, I think, 10-plus touchdowns the past 2 years. Don't quite remember the exact numbers. But nice little runner. He's definitely under-the-radar guy that could be going late day 2, early day 3.
Yeah, you've been on Joshua Kelly for a while. We watched the Senior Bowl together, and you were loving it. I mean, he was the best running back there, I think, that weekend. And he should be just an all-around just solid back, especially for a late round. He could be just a steal for this year's draft. Should be a good pick for somebody.
Yeah. Trevor?
All right. So if I did a top 5 of my favorite players from this draft, this guy would be on it. Is J.K. Dobbins. Like, I was thinking with my team, I want to make big plays. You know what? J.K. Dobbins got that top-end speed. He hits the hole. Well, not really the hole. He sweeps the outside, and he is gone if he's not touched. Speed's there. He's one of the most fluid pass catchers in this running back class. I love him to death, and I hope he ends up on a good team because I hope I root for him. Except for the Saints. I won't root for him if he's on the Saints. Sorry.
I have seen some mocks with him in round 1. Do you think he'll still be around round 2 or 3?
I think it'd be with the combine and how DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor look. I think those are the clear top 2 as far as NFL GMs go. And there's been some first round buds with Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. So I think of those 3, they're 3 more likely to go in the first round. But I think we all remember when Rashad Penny went in the first round somehow. So anything can happen.
Rashad Penny.
I love J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins has been dropping a little bit, though, on a lot of people's board due to Taylor's combine and the rise of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So whoever gets him is going to get a steal.
Yes, sir.
For my running back, I've chosen James Robinson. He's out of Illinois State. I'm kind of obsessed with FCS players, and I love watching their film. But James Robinson has been my favorite. I have a whole scouting report here, and I won't read it, but I will tell you that on 15 games played last year, he had 1,899 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns.
My God.
And of course, he's playing against FCS, but he had 364 rushing attempts and 126 yards a game. That is absurd production. He is a workhorse. He can be an every down back, I think, upside wise. Big old boy, 5'10", 220, 24 bench press reps. I mean, he's a horse. And so he is likely going to come out of the draft and be a second back / special teams player and kind of move up considering his FCS production and stuff like that. But because he also returned kicks at Illinois State. So he can do it all. Love the guy. And the only real worry I have about him in today's NFL is he can swing out and catch balls, but that wasn't really ever his big option when it came to Illinois State because he was averaging 24 carries a game.
It doesn't sound like they needed him to do that.
Yeah, but he was mostly a check down option, just swinging into the flats, catching stuff like that. So we'll see how he comes out, but love James Robinson out of Illinois State. If you haven't watched his film, I would go check it out.
Yeah, I remember watching him one day at work. He came on. They were just playing some FCS championship game or something like that. And I was just in there watching the game because football's football, you know?
Sure.
And I just see this monster just start carrying it every freaking play, just running down the defense. And then Cato told me the guy's name. I was like, yep, that's him.
That's the kid.
That's the guy.
Yeah,
He's a monster.
Stuff.
Yeah, I haven't watched him yet, but off the stats you gave me and the way you described him, he sounds like a pretty versatile player. And especially with late round guys, NFL GMs are always looking for special teams help. So if he's got special teams experience, he should be drafted easily this year.
Agreed. Hunter, what you got there for your receivers?
All right, so for the first receiver I have Michael Pittman Jr. out of USC. Dude is an absolute monster. Will definitely be a late or mid day 2 guy, and will be a sleeper for whoever gets him. I know the Jets are rumored to be interested in him pretty heavily, and if so, he's going to be a great jump ball end zone guy for Sam Darnold, who has no real targets up there at all.
Yeah, I love his fit on the Jets, especially because they're a lot of the time are being mocked to take a tackle in the first round, but it's a deep receiver class. Love Pittman there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, just to segue, I also went Michael Pittman Jr. with my first wide receiver pick. Just to add on to it, great hands. I think he's 6'4", 215-ish. I know he's 6'4".
That sounds right, yeah.
I think he ran a 4.52, I think, at the combine, which for that size and that speed, that's fantastic. And I'm obsessed. This past season was my first year of fantasy football, and I lived off rookie and second year wide receivers just being my solid people, like Scary Terry McLaurin out of the Redskins, Cortland Sutton, AJ Brown. Those guys were all in my fantasy league, and they were just solid every week. So I tried to lean that way when I was picking my wide receivers. So Michael Pittman Jr., if he ends up on the right squad, I think could be the perfect guy for
that. My first receiver is a guy that you both know well that I love, and I can't let his combine bring me down. I love T. Higgins out of Clemson.
Yep.
I think he's going to go day 2. It's not looking likely he's going to go day 1 anymore with the rise of Justin Jefferson, people like Brandon Ayuk. But T. Higgins is a monster physically. He can bully these little cornerbacks. He's got crazy catch radius. And I would love still, the Bills added Stephon Diggs, and we were mocking T. Higgins to the Bills almost every time. But I would still love to see something like that. I really would. He'll make even the most inaccurate quarterback look like he's throwing right on target. So still love T. Higgins, despite a less than amazing combine.
Yeah, T. Higgins is an absolute monster, and it was a shame to watch him go out in the natty.
Yeah, I like T. Higgins a lot. I think last year, if he was in last year's draft, he would have been my number 2 wide receiver. I think I had AJ Brown as my number 1, and I think I liked him a little bit more than N'Keal Harry. So it just shows you how good this wide receiver class is this year, because he's like 5 or 6 now on generally everyone's boards right now. Great catch radius, good size, good speed for his size too, just like Michael Pittman Jr. He should be just a really good wide receiver, especially like if he comes in as a 2 for a team. He could be one of the most productive second option wide receivers in the league next year.
Agreed. Hunter, you got another receiver for us?
Yeah, so my second receiver that I picked this is a bit of a homer pick. Bryan Edwards out of South Carolina. Dude is going to be an absolute monster for whoever gets him. He's struggled with injuries this past year at South Carolina, and so he missed a good chunk of the season. But when he's on the field, the dude's the definition of a go-to possession receiver. He's a QB's best friend. He's got a pretty good-sized frame for a receiver. He's on the bigger end of it all. It's a shame we didn't get to watch him work out at the Combine or the Senior Bowl due to an injury that he had. However, I think Bryan Edwards is probably going to go day 3 pick, early day 3, and whoever gets him is going to be a very happy team. He's incredible catch radius, very similar to T. Higgins, but slight few more injury issues.
Sure.
Yeah, Bryan Edwards, I've watched film him with you, Hunter. And since you're a South Carolina fan, you've watched a lot of him. When he's on the field, I guess.
Yeah,
little jab, I'm sorry. You said it perfectly. He's so solid. Like, quarterback's best friend is the perfect description for him because he's going to catch it. He's going to get just enough separation, if not plenty of separation to catch the ball. I don't think he's like a game-changing wide receiver. But as far as like he's going to probably have if he stays healthy, a long career in the NFL, just making catch after catch, just like a second or third option for a team. And he should be just a really good vet eventually in the league.
He's the perfect wide receiver too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You've got a second receiver, Trevor?
Yeah, okay. This man is one of the most unluckiest men in college football. And I think he's going to be a star at the next level. Maybe not star, but he's going to be a lot better in the NFL than he was in college. And that is Mr. Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan. Okay, this man had Shea Patterson thrown to him for the last 2 seasons. So you got to feel some for the guy. Shea Patterson is not very good. His vert, I believe, was either the best or second best at the combine. He ran a 4.48-ish. I know it was sub 4.5. He's 6'3" or 6'2", around 200, I think, 205. Like, good size. He gets separation. He's an athletic freak. Even bad throws at Shea Patterson, he can make look good because he could just twist and make his catch radius just so big. He might be my sleeper, my biggest sleeper for this class, just because he's so forgotten about in this wide receiver class. And I really like him a lot, obviously.
The only problem I do have with Peoples-Jones, I did see some drops from him on film. I know that's a bit of a concern, but I think he is a really big playmaker. And like you said, he wasn't getting much help from his quarterback, accuracy-wise, power-wise, placement-wise, anything-wise.
Quarterback-wise.
Yeah, quarterback-wise in general. So I do agree he could be something special.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry. Go ahead, kiddo.
Oh, I was going to move on, and you have something.
I was just going to say, Peoples-Jones was one of my top receivers coming into the start of the season. And so watching him I wouldn't say struggle, but watching him underachieve this season, partially due to quarterback play, was quite disappointing. He had an incredible combine, and I think he's going to be an incredible red zone threat for whoever gets him.
Oh, yeah.
My second receiver is sort of a receiver, sort of an offensive weapon. I don't really know what to call him. It's Antonio Gibson out of Memphis. If you look at his stats, you can't really tell what he is because he had 38 receptions for 735 yards, 8 touchdowns, but also 33 rushes for 369 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he's pretty split. It's not really much of something real solid. But he ran a 4.39. He's got lightning speed. If he beats you off the line, then you're screwed. That's actually right here in my scouting report. It says you're screwed because you are. If he gets you with that first step, then you're done for. He's slippery for his size, but he is a 1-year production guy. This was his only year that he really brought it. So he does need to be polished. He's kind of sloppy on his route running sometimes, but I do think if he were to sit down with a good coach, maybe some more veteran receivers or backs, whatever he wants to play, then he could be an excellent piece in the NFL. I'd see him as a much later round guy, maybe like a day 3.
Yeah, he's definitely a good offensive coordinator. It's just dream piece. I know Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay are probably just sitting there drooling watching him play just due to what he can do on the field. I think he's going to be an incredible piece if he goes to the right place. So
Agreed.
Yeah, he just sounds like a versatile weapon, and then NFL GMs are always all over that. I mean, with some players, are like, I'm not sure if it's like Isaiah Simmons' case, he's like, I'm not sure if he's a linebacker or a safety, but like he's an athlete. Like, just put him on the field and he'll make plays. And I feel like that's the same way that he's going to be in the NFL, just on the offensive side.
Oh, for sure.
Hunter, let's talk about tight ends.
Oh, I love tight ends. All right, so my
Not
tight end.
class.
I love the ones in this class. The one I'm picking is actually my favorite tight end in this entire draft class, Harrison Bryant, the tight end of Florida Atlantic. Dude is an absolute monster in terms of the receiving game. His blocking definitely needs to improve, but if you watched him during the Senior Bowl, his blocking had improved from the regular season. I don't know if you're sensing a trend, but me and Senior Bowl guys, kind of a trend. But I think he is very much a Tyler Eifert type player. I think he's going to be a nice receiving option for a team. We'll probably play a second tight end. You could see him probably, honestly, maybe come to Atlanta, play opposite of Hayden Hurst. That'd be kind of cool. But a 2 tight end system, a place like New England or something, would be incredible for him, where he can just get the ball in his hands and make plays.
Yeah, big old boys, 6'5", 242. So that's pretty large. If he does improve his inline blocking, I think he could be an excellent tight end in the NFL for sure. But yeah, tight end 2 type guy as of right now.
Yeah, from what I've watched, he just seems like a solid guy. He's not gonna break the fantasy points record or anything. He's just gonna be a nice solid rookie probably if he gets on the field his rookie year. But probably a early day 3, I would guess, pick.
Mm-hmm. That's where I have him around, is a 4th round grade.
Yeah.
All right, tight end I went with is Adam Troutman out of Dayton.
I like him too.
This man killed the combine. His 3-cone was great. His 40 was great. I can't remember what he bench pressed, but his 40, he looked like an absolute athlete. Like, he's catching everything. I honestly haven't watched film on him. I just remember him from the combine. I haven't really hit tight ends too much, but Adam Troutman should be. If Cole Kmet ends up being lives up to his potential, he'll probably be the best. But Adam Troutman definitely could be the best if he lives up to his athletic ability.
Yeah, I'd say Adam Troutman's pretty underrated as of right now. His his technique as a tight end is still I feel like it's kind of raw. He is pretty new to the position, but was Dayton's all-time leading receiver. So I think he really could be something very special coming into the NFL. The tight end that I chose that I know that I don't think either of you like very much. Not many people like him actually. Thaddeus Moss out of LSU. He's only a redshirt sophomore, and not really the best athlete. I'll say that. But he's physical. He can body up with even linebackers, and has if you watch his film. As well as he's an excellent blocker. He's good with his hands off the line, and he's not big, but he's dense. He's only 225 pounds, 6'3", but he does sit in his frame very nicely and is not moved by some of these quicker rushing linebackers or even edge rushers. So I really like him as an inline piece that can really get out there and do slants across the middle, things like that. But he does absolutely have room for improvement, as I think most of this tight end class does.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I like about Thaddeus Moss is his blocking ability. I actually would not be surprised if he gets moved to a fullback at the next level to kind of kick back there and just let him just go out and hit people, and then have him open up the flats. That way he can just build up speed and hit people. So
yeah.
What popped for me with Thaddeus Moss is his hands. It feels like everyone on LSU's offense this year could catch anything. A lot of the throws in the Oklahoma and just the later playoff games, he was making a lot of those key catches. So I think that'll be a pretty key tool for him going into the NFL.
Yeah. Let's talk about tackles.
All right. So I have another Senior Bowl standout, Josh Jones, the OT out of Houston. He has been regarded anywhere from a first-round pick to a late second or third-round pick. I like him as a first-round grade. I think he's one of the only few I think he's one of the best natural left tackles in this draft. And in the Senior Bowl, you watched him. He was able to go up against anybody with ease or with relative ease, and he seemed a pretty strong guy. And if you watch his tape, he does the same thing week in, week out in Houston. Granted, it was against weaker competition, But I really like this guy, and I think he's going to be a nice starting OT for the next decade.
Yeah, personally, I see anybody outside of the top 4 tackles as being a reach in the first round. But I know that it's going to happen because of team needs. People like Miami or somebody like that are going to go and grab Josh Jones or Austin Jackson or whoever they want. If not at that 18th pick at their third pick at 26. So do like Josh Jones, that was incredible at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, Josh Jones, he probably will go, depending on the team's boards, he probably will go in the first round or minimum early second. Really solid left tackle. Hunter mentioned the competition level, which is true, but overall he played really well this past season. And really good in pass protection and a solid run blocker as well. So I like him a good bit. I went with size for both of my tackle and interior guys, and I really wanted to preface run. So I went with Isaiah Wilson out of Georgia, the right tackle. I'm not sure if he can ever play left tackle in the NFL. I think he's just going to be a career right tackle, and he should slot in nicely. He's huge. I can't remember. I think he's 6'5", something like that, 6'5", 300-ish. Run block is really good. He's not as quick-footed on the edge. I think Caleb Von Chason had a really good day against him in the Georgia LSU game. But I really like him a lot, especially, like I said, in the run game. And he should be a pretty solid tackle. And I think he is getting a little bit of first-round buzz as well. I don't know if that's smoke screen just because it's the time of the year.
Yeah, I think he definitely could get overshadowed by Andrew Thomas. Just seeing how Andrew Thomas is clearly in the top 4, and I mean, I think any of these guys could be the first one off the board. Any of these top 4, meaning Wills, Wirfs, Becton, or Thomas. So it would be easy for Wilson to get overshadowed by him. I think he's got the traits of an NFL tackle.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think he could be this year's Caleb McGrary in terms of just a big brute of a right tackle who's a solid run blocker and he's working pass protection, who might be able to slip into the late first round, kind of like what happened last year with the Falcons.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
The tackle I've chosen is Lucas Niang out of TCU. Lucas Niang is actually my tackle number 5, ahead of Josh Jones. Personally, I'm a big believer in huge bears of tackles, and Lucas Niang is 6'7", 328. Doesn't get better than that. I mean,
holy shit.
Mekhi Becton might be the only guy bigger than him in this draft, but they are the same height. Lucas Niang, I think, is an excellent tackle, and he played right tackle at TCU. I think he projects perfectly into the NFL. The main problem that a lot of scouts are seeing is his injury concern. He tore his labrum and had to get hip surgery before the 2019 season. But I did see a tweet. I'm trying to remember which scout it was from, but that he had to just change up his technique when he was dealing with edge rushers, where he couldn't pivot as well. But he does more of a backpedaling technique now, and you could see the improvement across the 2019 season. His first half of the season, the film was terrible because he can't keep up. He's getting just turned the corner on every single time. But excellent football IQ. He's got great length. His arms are very long. Him being 6'7", and hits right at the line of scrimmage with some excellent explosiveness. So I think that he's going to make a team very happy if they can get him, make sure he's healthy and get him to his upside in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. I know he's one of those guys that's just all up and all over draft boards, just everywhere because of the injury concerns, like you were saying. And after the big 4 tackles, most people have different tackles up and down. I know the guys over at 6 Football were talking about Ezra Cleveland, how he was one of their 11th ranked tackles, but he's also getting 2nd or 3rd round buzz. So
he had a good combine.
Ezra Cleveland, he's out of Boise State. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Guards and centers, interior offensive linemen.
Yes. All right. So my favorite guy, I started watching him back at the beginning of the season, is Ben Bredesen out of Michigan. I think the dude has some of the best technique out of the left guard position. 3-year starter and a captain at the left guard position. Brings experience to whoever takes him. Might not be the strongest player or the most physical player, but I think the teams are getting a guy that can come in and immediately compete or even win a starting left guard job. Dude's an absolute monster. He went up against top defenses all the time over at Michigan, being in the Power 5 conference that they're in.
Yeah, I think Ben Bredesen definitely has the tools. He's getting ranked a little bit low. I know on a lot of boards, but he started 4 straight seasons. I mean, he's a senior, so he's definitely got the experience in the Big Ten, and I think he could project really well.
Yeah, me and Hunter have been on him for a while. I'm not sure why he's falling. I haven't really read too much into it, but as far as the film goes and the 4 years at Michigan, I think he's going to be a really solid player. I mean, interior O-line is one of the bigger positions in the NFL now, just because of players like Aaron Donald, Grady Jarrett, Fletcher Cox. Like, they're really affecting the interior line of scrimmage. So I think he should be just a real plug and play. Should start as a rookie, in my opinion.
Trevor, what you got on the interior of the offensive line?
Okay, like I said, I was going to really focus on the run game. I went with John Simpson out of Clemson, a really big guy for an interior. His pass protection leaves a little bit to be desired, but as far as his run blocking, if there is any chance of making a hole that I want to run behind, I'm going to go behind him as far as interior, because this man just wrecks the interior O-line. I love to watch him block the interior. I think he's a junior, or he might be a senior. I cannot remember. But as far as like a late day 2, early day 3 guy, he should be a really good pickup for a team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that line at Clemson is actually very strong. We saw them carry them straight through the playoffs. I mean, that's a team full of talent, but I think it starts in the trenches, and I'd love to see your guy in the NFL for sure.
Dude's an absolute monster. Watching him play is just insane, especially when he's up against South Carolina and just mauling Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, for real. That's real though. That's real. I originally was going to talk about Matt Hennessy from Temple, but I forgot about one of my favorite guys on the interior offensive line big board here, Robert Hunt, out of Louisiana. He played in the Sun Belt. He's 6'5", 336. Big old boy. He actually played tackle at Louisiana, but he's entering the draft as a guard. I think his skills are better used on the inside anyway. His feet are a little bit slow, and so he sometimes can get moved around by the speed rushers on the edge. But massive, he's so powerful. If he gets his hands on you, you pretty much are not allowed to move anymore. That's it for you on the play, and can really just find the point on his opponent and put him in the ground. I saw plenty of film, especially him against Georgia Southern, where he was just mauling these guys coming off the line. So excellent redshirt senior coming out of Louisiana, started for 4 years. So I think he projects really well as a guard in the NFL. Looking at him at like a round 3 or 4 type guy.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't watched him yet. But as far as the size and the numbers, I hope Arizona doesn't draft him, because Kyler won't be able to see anything. But as far as the size and the power, it sounds like to me he should be really good at minimum day 1 in the run game. And hopefully he's good in the pass protection, but should be an overall solid pick from what you described.
All right, boys. I know that it's been quite the episode so far. We're 44 minutes in. We're going to take a quick break, have a word from our sponsor, and then we're going to be right back to get the defensive side of things in just a few moments. So we will be right back. What's up, team? This is Ryan Cato from the Backups Cast. I just wanted to say we thank you for your patience with our audio quality obviously going down, having to record on Skype, as well as our content schedule being a little bit put off. But you can follow us at the Backups Cast on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Backups Cast, as well as find us on Apple Podcasts, where all of our content will be held. So thank you, and back to the action. All right, I think we're recording. Welcome back, everybody, to the Backups of Football podcast. Here we are, Hunter, Trevor, me. We just recorded the offensive section of our players to watch out for. I've moved out of my closet studio because, frankly, it was hot as hell in there, and I was starting to sweat. But we are going to move into defensive positions, and I think we're back to Hunter starting us off at the edge position. Hunter, let me hear it.
All right. Trend continues. Another Senior Bowl standout. Well, I wouldn't say standout, but the guy that caught my eye due to his high motor is Kenny Wilkes out of Michigan State. Dude was at the Senior Bowl and just was absolutely giving it his all every single play and just bringing the energy the entire time. And I definitely like his game, and I think he could be a very similar Brooks Reed type player at the next level. A nice rotational piece for defensive line, and just a good day 3 pick.
Yeah, I love Kenny Wilkes, actually. Watching him against Big Ten competition, I thought he looked very impressive. The Big Ten typically has really excellent lines, and so he really did impress. I think like you said like day 2 or 3. Is that correct for Kenny Wilkes?
Yeah, day 3.
Yeah, so round 4 type guy, I think could really be a good fit for a team there.
Yeah, he's got one of the best stories going into this draft. I believe he was a walk-on there, and slowly worked his ass off, and he got to the starting lineup, and then ended up being really productive for them. Really good athlete, great motor. Should be just an all-around solid guy. I don't think he'll be anything more than like a 6 to 8 sack guy in the next level, and probably a pretty solid run defender. But just for like a late round guy, this should be a really good rotational piece in the NFL.
Agreed.
All right, so I cheated a little bit, and I also went to Senior Bowl guys, and they were on the opposite side of the line from each other. So I went Bradlee Anae out of Utah, and also went Josh Uche out of Michigan. So if I had to pick between the two, I'd go Bradlee Anae because he's so much fun to watch. He's one of the most powerful edge rushers in this draft. He doesn't bend that well, at least maybe not yet. Maybe he can get coached into it. But as far as his power and his motor, it's just so much fun to watch. He's good against the run. He destroyed the tackles at the Senior Bowl. Not that the Senior Bowl tackles were that amazing, but that day, him and Josh Uche both wrecked the tackles. And I'm going to talk about Josh Uche for a second. This guy is a little bit of the opposite. This guy can bend and is more of an athlete who is more of a natural pass rusher. He leaves a lot to be desired as far as run defense, but as far as just natural getting to the QB, he's one of the better ones in this draft.
Definitely love Bradlee Anae. I'm not quite as high on Uche as everybody else is, but I think Uche does have all the traits. I'm not super huge on taking super raw prospects in the draft. That's just a weird thing about me. But I do love Bradlee Anae. I think he's going to be the perfect stereotypical 4-3 end in terms of pass rusher, and I think he's going to be great at the next level.
Yeah, and speaking of Bradlee Anae, that's also who I picked, the edge out of Utah. Loved him at the Senior Bowl. He plays just with a lot of urgency, and from what I've heard is a really blue-collar worker. Quite the big effort all the time, works very hard, rarely came off the field in the 3 years he started for Utah. So that's really how he generates most of his production. Not necessarily like the most perfect athlete, not the most perfect polish on him, but he just gives it his all every single play, and you can see it, and that's how he really gets out there and gets after the quarterback, and in the run stop game too. So love him in that position. He's number 6 on my board, but on edges, but I love him as a day 2 pick, honestly.
Yes, sir.
Let me hear it for the DTs and interior defensive linemen, Hunter.
All right, so this guy is one of my absolute favorite players in the draft class, and that's Neville Gallimore.
Yes, sir.
I know a few months ago when we did our first mock draft, I talked about him maybe having some first-round hype. That's cooled off a little bit, but I still think he's a perfect second-round or even third-round guy. Dude is raw, but you put him on that line, and he's an absolute disruptive force. Dude's just constantly just bodying people out of the way and just using his strength and athleticism to make magic happen. I think once he gets coached up a little bit, he's going to be an absolute monster in the NFL.
Okay, so I will admit I cheated a little bit again. It's the last time I cheat, I promise. I also went Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma, but also went Raekwon Davis out of Alabama. So with Neville Gallimore, just to add on the Hunter thing, great motor, like he said. Like, this guy does not quit, and he's got a surprisingly good spin move for his size, and he should be just a really solid 3 technique. I did read where someone's thinking about maybe bumping him up to a 2 technique, which I find interesting. But as far as just like getting after the QB in today's NFL, he should be a really solid pick, especially for like a day 2 guy. Then Raekwon Davis, because what I did with my defense, I just pictured like building my team with late round guys. So I wanted someone who would stop the run very well. So I went Raekwon Davis out of Alabama. This guy's massive. He was getting first round buzz, early second round buzz last season, and he didn't quite live up to his senior year. He didn't quite live up to that. But as far as just a solid run defense guy, he should be really good. He's just massive. I mean, it's just hard to get around him. He does need to work on his pass rush, but I don't think that's what he's built to do. So I just stick him in there to fill a gigantic hole.
Yeah, agreed. He's powerful. He's long. I mean, he's 6'7". Good Lord. Like, the man can fill a hole if that's what you need him to do. So excellent player. He's physically, he's made for the trenches. So I really do like Raekwon Davis. And on that note, I have chosen as my interior defensive lineman Benito Jones out of Ole Miss. Not much hype around him. He's a senior coming out of Ole Miss. He's only 6'1", but he weighs 321, which makes him very stout and very dense as a defensive tackle, but is very strong. He can fight pretty much anybody of any size on the line. He's fighting SEC interior offensive linemen, centers and guards every single game, every single play, and winning a lot of that. He's not super explosive, and his length isn't great because of the fact that he's only 6'1". But I think he really projects as somebody who could play A gap in the NFL. He is not necessarily a 3-down player, but can stuff that middle hole with his girth and with his strength right up the middle. So I'd love to see Benito Jones maybe as like more of a day 3 guy, maybe like round 4 or 5. I think he could plug a hole very well on a NFL defensive line.
Definitely. I honestly don't know much about him, so I'm definitely have to watch more film on him. But based on the way you made him sound, he sounds like a great late round guy.
Yeah, I think he could be excellent. Moving on, are we talking about linebackers?
We are talking about linebackers, and we have my boy Malik Harrison as the linebacker. I think this guy can be anywhere from a 2nd or 3rd round pick. If you watch him at Ohio State, dude's an absolute monster. He's all over the field making plays. He might not be the biggest or strongest linebacker, but he has incredible instincts, and I think some team is going to get a nice starter out of him.
Yeah, I love Malik Harrison. He's more of a traditional type linebacker, as we've seen him. Not super, not the quick, shifty linebackers that we've seen more recently. But I do love him the way he projects and played very well at Ohio State.
Yeah, this guy's just really solid as a linebacker. Especially, he could be a steal in this year's draft if he goes for maybe a third round, maybe late second round kind of guy. I think he should be an automatic production guy as far as the NFL goes for his rookie year. I went with Troy Dye out of Oregon. His one knock that he's got is he's a little bit skinny, like he's got really long legs, so they're worried about his frame. But as far as his play goes, I mean, I think he may have I know he's led Oregon in tackles, I think, the last 2 seasons. He should be just at minimum a really good special teams player, but I think he can play linebacker at the next level. Maybe not middle linebacker, but he could play outside. I mean, decent. He's 6'3", 235, ran pretty well. He's always near the ball as a linebacker, which is what you love to see. He's maybe a little late to read the play, but once he does, he is at that ball. Good in coverage too. I think he should be a really solid player in the NFL.
I did hear good things about him as a leader in that locker room too at Oregon.
Yes, big locker room guy.
So that's always a plus for me personally. If you can get a guy to bring a team together, and Troy Dye, from what I've heard, is that type of guy.
Yes, sir.
Kato, who you got at linebacker?
There's a man I love to talk about, and his name's Logan Wilson, coming out of Wyoming. 6'2", 241. He had 105 tackles in 13 games played this last season at Wyoming, as well as 4 interceptions. Excellent player. He is a former safety, so his positioning and like football IQ were very high. He can play like drop zones pretty well, but I wouldn't really trust him as like a roaming safety. He's definitely a linebacker. But some of the best tackling skills I've seen in the draft. He does look a little bit slow on film, but still ran a 4.63 at the combine, so not terrible for a middle linebacker his size at 241 pounds, and was a 3-year captain at Wyoming. So he has excellent locker room presence, excellent leadership. I texted Hunter one day and said, I think this kid has a Kuechly ceiling. I don't know if the upside is going to come. I don't know if he's going to reach that, but he looks like he really could if he is able to keep up with the competition in the NFL.
Yeah, I've definitely been hearing great things about him. I know the Falcons have been linked with him in this draft process a couple times, and so that made me want to watch more film on him, and I definitely like his game. I think he's going to be a very solid player at the next level, even if it's just a rotational player. I think what you get out of him is going to be quality at whatever role you ask him to be.
Agreed.
Yeah, you got to love good character guys, so he should be just a really good, really solid pickup for a team, and maybe like the 4th, 5th round range.
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter, tell me about your corners.
Okay, so the corner I was going to pick was Trevon Diggs, but I just decided I'm going to change it up to Jeff Gladney out of TCU. That's my boy. He's my number 2 ranked. He's my number 2 ranked corner. I know we said we weren't going to do this, but I just can't pass up the opportunity to talk about this guy. I think he's one of the best corners in the draft. He's got the twitch that you want out of the cornerback. He's a little small. Well, not just a little. He's pretty small.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he doesn't let that stop him. It's kind of similar to like the Brent Grimes mentality back in the day of being the undersized corner who's just going to go out and fight every single play, or Denzel Ward type stuff,
Sure.
But that's what he does. He just goes out. It doesn't matter how big you are or how fast you are. He's going to cover you no matter what. If you watch this film against TCU, he did that. He's an incredible player, and I think whatever team gets him is going to get an incredible nickel corner right off the bat who might be able to develop into a long-term starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like – go ahead.
You got it, Trevor? You got it?
All right, I'll tell you. I like Jeff Gladney a lot. I watched a good bit of film on him. As far as coverage goes, he's one of the better ones in this draft. The only question with him is his size. I think don't remember his weight, but I do know he's 5'10".
Yeah, he's 183, which is
got,
pretty small. Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty small.
Got a question tackling at the next level. I mean, he's not big. Like this is gonna be NFL sized guys, but as far as just ball skills and coverage, this guy's one of the best in this draft, and I do like him a lot for that.
Yeah, agreed. I see him as like a late first round. He could go to somebody like Minnesota or maybe San Francisco or Kansas City if he falls there. I think could be two good picks for him. But yeah, excellent tape. He does have twitch, like you were saying, Hunter. That makes him something really special. I want to talk about Jalen Johnson out of Utah. Jalen Johnson is only 6 foot 190, but very athletic. He's very physical in coverage, and isn't afraid of contact. He's like very aggressive in press coverage, which makes him like I said, if he's physical, he can get grabby and tends to get some defensive pass interference is called on him. So it's the discipline that I think he needs to have a little bit more of. But he's excellent, and I think he can compete with any of these more physical wide receivers in the NFL. Trevor, I realized I just jumped you, so I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
Jalen Johnson is my guy for cornerback.
Just too excited to talk about Jalen Johnson than to listen to Trevor talk, I guess.
I love Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, Jalen should be a second-round guy is what I'm predicting, maybe early third. I like him a good bit. I think he does get a little lost in coverage sometimes, but just another really good man coverage guy. I think he has pretty long arms. So he should – I mean, he might be like an Isaiah Oliver. It might take a second for him to adapt to the next level, but he should be pretty good. Okay, I went with Christian Fulton. I know I said I wouldn't do first-round guys, but he's kind of on the bubble whether he goes first round or not. One of the biggest things for him to me is his toughness. His 2019 wasn't as good as his 2018, but a lot of that was he's just playing through an injury. And I think his ankles hurt almost the entire season, which is impressive because since 2018, he's only allowed a 40% QB rating, I believe. No, completion percentage, sorry, which is unbelievable.
That's insane.
Good press man. Tackling leaves a lot to be desired, but I think that might be like part of the injury thing. So if he gets healthy, this kid should be he might be a potential star one day and should be an absolute steal in the second round, maybe late second round kind of guy.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype on Christian Fulton coming out of high school. And I think some of the cons that people see with him is he didn't really like live up to the huge hype that he had. Cause he was the number one recruit in Louisiana coming out of high school. So excuse me. But he's been excellent. Like you said, tackling leaves a little bit to be desired, but I think he could play very well in the NFL.
Yeah, I love Christian Fulton's game. I think he's going to transition very well to the next level. He's been getting a lot, like he's one of those guys that's been fluctuating up and down throughout the draft process. Because he started as like a first round pick for sure at the start of the season, then it's kind of like went down to the bubble, then dropped into like a day 2 pick, and now he's back up to the bubble. So I'm curious to see where he's actually going to end up going. But whoever gets him is getting a nice immediate starter at that next level.
I will mention that he missed his 2017 season from what the situation was, he had smoked weed and he had a drug test. So he got someone else's urine because he was worried about failing the drug test for the marijuana instead of performance-enhancing drugs. So he got suspended for the entire 2017 season. And then a new ruling came out and he got to play his 2018 season.
Wow.
So they're a little bit off the field, but I don't think it's too much of a big deal.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have an attitude problem, which would be the biggest off the field thing for me, honestly. So,
yeah.
Finally, Hunter, let's talk about safeties.
Okay.
I'm a big safety guy. I think you're a big safety guy. Let's talk about him.
All right, so I don't love this safety class, but a guy I do love is Kyle Duggar out of Illinois, right?
Lenore Ryan, yes.
Lenore Ryan, yes. So I don't know why that struggles so hard. I've been hearing all the hype about him during the Senior Bowl week, and then when the Senior Bowl actually happened, I was able to watch him play. The dude's just an explosive monster in the backfield. He is lacking instincts because he is coming from such a small school, but I think trait-wise, if a good coach gets a hold of him, he's going to be an absolute monster. You saw his tape, or you didn't see his tape. If you watch his tape, you see the one guy up there. He's just an in-the-box safety who's also dropping back into coverage every single play. He just wants to be near the ball. He wants to make plays, and I just think he's going to be very good at the next level.
Yeah, his tape is so much fun to watch because it's like watching a grown man with a bunch of boys because he is so much faster and he's bigger than a lot of other players on the field. So he is everywhere. Like he's so much fun to watch. He is raw just because he's coming from Lenore Ryan. So he'll take a little bit of development. Maybe takes maybe a year or two to actually like learn the game as far as like the NFL level. But as far as prospect and the traits, this kid's got it all.
Yeah, Lenore Ryan is D2, and I read a scouting report. I can't remember where, but because the big concern for him is he's definitely like a reactive player. He's see ball, react, go to ball, which in the NFL that doesn't really work.
It won't work at all.
If you're playing safety, you have to be in good positioning. You have to be where the ball is going to be, not where it already is. But the scouting report I read said that it seems as if like he plays like that because he's the best player on the field and he knows that he can play like that. He can get away with just having fun, playing reactive football and not really putting in the time. But like I said, that won't work in the NFL. But excellent physical safety. And if he puts in the time to get those instinctive skills up, I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, I definitely think whoever gets him is getting worst case scenario an incredible special teams player.
Agreed. Big time agree.
All
Trevor,
right,
tell me about your safety. Yeah.
Yeah, my safety is good old Brandon Jones from Texas. He was one of the lone shining spots of that secondary this year that struggled. He's no star as far as a prospect goes. As far as a late round guy, he's always around the ball. He's got good coverage, good instincts. I'm always a sucker for thumper kind of guys, and he seems to have a little bit extra with his hits. So I do like that a good bit. He's a really good blitzer. Like he lights up running backs coming after the QB, and he's just fun to watch. I like watching his film. I watch it for a good 30 minutes before we hopped on. All around, just he's pretty raw, but I think he has the potential to be a pretty solid, maybe like a strong safety at the next level.
Yeah, I'd agree. He's definitely a thumper, as you called him. Very physical as a safety, but I think his coverage skills could still use some work. Similar to what Hunter just said with Kyle Duggar. I think worst case scenario, you're getting a special teams player, and I think he's a guy who'll play safety in some packages, depending on the scheme in the NFL.
Yeah, he's definitely a scheme fit guy to me, but I'm going to be curious to see where he goes because that's going to have a lot to do with how he ends up.
So probably like a early or mid day 3 kind of guy I'm predicting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's a nice spot for him. I like that.
Finally, my safety. This is a guy I've been talking about. This keeps happening to me. I don't know, boys. I might just be a bright football mind. I don't know. But this is a guy I've been talking about for a while that scouts started really seeing the potential in recently. It's Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois. Of course, not playing against the best of competition. That's got to be the first con. We got to talk about that. But 13 career interceptions, and he ran a 4.45, and he's 6'3", 221. He's 220 pounds running a 4.45. That's exactly where he needs to be. If you want a physical trait safety, this is your guy. He's got a great build for an NFL safety. He plays like it. He's a very physical defender, very physical tackler, excellent against the run and in both zone and man. Sometimes in man coverage, I do see him get tunnel vision, and he kind of steps the wrong way. He's looking too much. He's not looking at the play develop, but looking too much, focusing too much on what's in front of him. But physically incredibly gifted. I think that he's not Isaiah Simmons, and I would never say that. But I think he has that kind of appeal to him because he could play multiple positions. He definitely has range when it comes to his role on the field, and he's another guy you just put him out there and he's gonna make plays no matter where you line him up. So big fan of Jeremy Chin coming out of Southern Illinois.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep doing this with all these under the radar guys, but I do like weirdly enough, I like the Simmons comp because I know Jeremy Chin's been linked a lot with a move to a linebacker role, and I think he's just going to be just another chess piece for defensive coordinators throughout the league.
Agreed.
Yeah, just to brag on Ryan a little bit, he was like 2 weeks early to me on Mekhi Becton. Lucas Nyang, I still can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
He was early on him. Like I heard about him like a week before he got big in the media from Ryan. Same thing with this guy and that linebacker from Wyoming.
Logan Wilson.
So Ryan's been spot on this year.
I don't know how he does it, man. I really don't.
Honestly, boys, I'll tell you a secret. I don't know how I do it either. So I'm just out here guessing like the rest of us. But Jeremy Chin is for sure something special. And no matter what I say about him, I think that's true. Boys,
first round buzz.
Yeah, he has been getting first round buzz.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would have to be the second safety off the board, I'd assume. I mean, I've seen some first safety off the board things. Not everybody likes Xavier McKinney.
I like Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, so do I. But so who knows? I mean, every scout, every team has different opinions, and he could be day one, first round on some people's boards, and he could be a round 3 player on others. So you really never know. There's big length of opinion, but
if there's any pro scouts listening to us and you want to tell us what you guys think, we would love to know.
Yeah, would love to know from anybody out there. And if you would like to let us know, actually, like I've said, you can follow us at the Backups Cast on Twitter. You can hit our DMs, hit my DMs at Who is Ryan Cato, 100 Thompson, T McVeigh, Trev McVeigh on Twitter. We're all in the Backups bio. You can hit any of our lines if you're interested in draft guides, scouting reports, or just telling us that our opinions suck. I'd love to hear that too, as long as you're listening to it. So from us here at the Backups Cast, it's been a good episode. We've gotten a lot of talking done, and this is going to be quite the long one. So I think it's about time to end it here. Boys, you want to say good night?
Good night, world.
All right. Thank you for listening. Good night.